Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known. This morning, it's all about Black Twitter. And we got Denisha, totally Randy. We got Dawn breaking the internet. How y'all doing this morning?
Tired.
Tired.
That part, I'm exhausted.
Uh, we need to pick me up. We definitely need to pick me up.
All
So,
right.
so I'm going to start things off. Usually we say ladies first, but it's 2 against 1. So I'm starting things off. So some Twitter users already abusing the new platform. What is the deal? So Elon Musk had said, well, if they buy the Twitter blue, the blue check, he says it creates more transparency. It's the opposite. What's the deal? Everybody has a blue check. They paid their $7.99 for, and you don't know who's who.
I feel like it's just one of those things where the worst nightmare that we can think about could happen on social media actually happened. And it goes back to when a lot of people didn't think that that former president would make it in, right? And the more and more we talk about things that can't possibly happen, they happen. And then you see the result of bad leadership. So with Elon Musk, everywhere he goes, something is going to be lit on fire, right? And so that's what's happening. So like there's this gif of like Elmo and fire behind him. And he's just like, that's literally what's happening every day until this app basically kind of, I don't know if it's going to go away completely or if it's just going to become a place where most of us who use it for community building, for organizing and communication across the board, are going to go away from this app. But where can we go at this point? There are some options. I've heard of Mastodon. I'm not looking at that because it sounds confusing already. There's fan base that's Black owned. And I'm looking into that because it's kind of similar to Instagram, but again, it's not Twitter where it's giving you consistent updates, where you're seeing, just talks about various topics, various, things that people just put out there. So I just feel like we're just at a point where we're literally counting down the days to really figure out whether or not this app is just going to completely just go away, or if it's going to be just a place where people are just going to have to really pay attention to who they're tweeting, what they're retweeting, and all of that, because people weren't paying attention before. But as of right now, you've got drug companies, prescription drug companies having to come out to apologize because people were, impersonating them, but it also had the verified check. So at this point, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna ride this till the wheels fall off. Basically, we got 2 flats right now on Twitter.
2 more to go.
Waiting on the other 2 tires to go out.
Right.
Well, David Youngblood said he deleted Twitter. I'm looking at the comments. He said, I deleted it. And several other folks are saying that too. Denisha, what you going to say?
No, definitely. That I was just about to say that that so many people are deleting Twitter. They're literally saying, are you guys coming to Twitter's funeral? It's so interesting that you talked about fan base, Dawn, because we literally just did. There was a Baltimore Times that did this thing called Hackathon, and on Hackathon, I interviewed in the metaverse one of my really good friends, a developer who just lost his mom on his birthday. His name is Adrian Jackson. He created something called Speaking, which is actually to combat what was going on with Twitter. And he did that when the first Black Panther came out, I believe a little bit before that. But I thought the same thing. What platform do we go to if, and that's where it looked like it's going, Twitter is up in flames, because what was just put on that screen when Twitter support was verified, that's the confusion. And no one's going to pay attention. They're not going to pay attention to who they're tweeting. They can't even pay attention to see if the information that they're receiving, they don't even fact check. So, right. They're not going to pay attention.
Well, they fired all the fact checkers, right?
That part.
They got fired, and then you had all of these senior positions at Twitter. Mm-hmm. Most of those people resigned within days of Elon Musk taking over. And that right there should have just been like a red flag. But let me tell you something. I feel like for most of us who have been on the app for at least a decade or more, right? Majority of us are like, okay, is this some type of like, okay, it's going to be rocky a little bit and then it's going to kind of smooth out? Or is this going to be something where we're going to see, like I said earlier, in real time, an actual train wreck, And at this point, most of the
Train
things
wreck.
that I've been seeing that I've been seeing online for Twitter is literally updates from either journalists or people in tech who are like literally telling us step by step what's happening, like from private Slack messages that are being sent out and things like that. We're getting alerts about that. So
Right.
I would just say, I see somebody deleted their Twitter already in the comments, but I would just say for those of us who have community that may not be able to pick up our community and go somewhere else, right? Just kind of see how things are going to go. And then just kind of start plotting your exit. I know I'm going to start redirecting people to Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I'm not creating nothing outside of that, maybe just a website, but ain't no time soon for that. But like,
You know what? This just shows you that many people say, if I had that money, what I would do. But $44 billion. First of all, that's insane amount of money to spend for the platform. And you got the advertisers leaving, you got folks doing what we're talking about. And man, that's a lot of money just to.
It's a powerful platform, though. Like,
Right.
you
Right.
also have to think about what the former president was able to do on that platform before he went and created something else.
Right.
And then it's a matter of also, that kid. So I hate to make this analogy, but I'm just gonna go there, where you have that kid that has been either bullied or like kept away from, like the popular kids per se.
Right.
And his revenge would be to go and go buy the thing that everybody wants access to.
Yep.
And then throw it in everybody's face that they've got to pay him back for that. Like, that's
Right.
literally what Elon Musk is doing right now, because he wasn't able to do what he really wanted to do. And then he started seeing all of these other billionaires and people, grabbing up, media in general, because honestly, it's social media. So if he could gain one of the most powerful platforms to get, and he can manage that, which he's not managing well, then it's a matter of like, okay, I'm with the big boys. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to call the shots, because dude has been flat out rude to people, on Twitter.
Flat out.
Absolutely.
Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like,
and I was just about to say that, Don, he did not really put out the reason why he wanted to purchase Twitter. Like, he never put it out, the reason why. And it felt like I'm bored. I can't buy a planet. So let me go ahead and do exactly what Don was saying. Let me get with the big boys. Let me throw my weight around. But he seems, and he was like, I like that a lot of people are complaining about Twitter on Twitter, right? And he made that joke as well. And that's also a slight to people who are actually, even people who are paying now. People were paying the $4 before they were paying the $8, right?
Yeah. But I ain't paying for nothing. Like,
me either.
I ain't paying for that.
It's a free.
But Denisha, he almost, he tried to back out of the deal, right? And he was pretty much forced to go through with it. But Denisha, I know you want to talk. One of the things you want to talk about is Texas politics. But before you do so, I have to say this: talk about Twitter and your timeline and stuff like that. I've been, we've been following the election, and everything is still up in the air pretty much for the House and the Senate. But the Colorado 3 race, Lauren Boebert, right? So she may win, right? The votes, they still counting, and it's like only a few votes separate them. But she went real quiet on Twitter, and I think it's been like there's been like this Lauren Boebert countdown, like 24 hours since she's last tweeted. Well, her last tweet was just before the election Tuesday. She says, here comes the red wave. But obviously that has not happened. But I think and I wish I had the person who tweeted this. I apologize, because we could have put it up on the screen. But the best response when they realized that she might lose was somebody wrote, well, I guess that red wave was just cramping and bloating.
Come on, turning big red. Come on.
Tanisha,
Right.
I know Houston politics is probably just as interested in what's going on with Lauren Boebert. What's going on
Yes,
your
it is.
timeline?
Houston, period. Can we just talk about how everything ran into each other, from World Series celebration straight into voter voting, and then straight into um, the depression from Texas is just in a very bad place. As a matter of fact, can I actually send my resume to you guys to come move to where y'all are? Listen, from the 11 million voters that, I mean, 11 million possible voters that did not vote, that angered everyone, and I think that's something that we possibly could talk about, because I've seen from everyone's tweets that they are so angry with how, Texas turned out. But if you look at the map, I'm not, I'm not even shooting a lot of people bail, but if you look at the map, Houston did what they were supposed to do.
Mhm.
Dallas even was
Dallas.
blue. I mean, it's a small dot of blue, but Dallas was even blue. El Paso was blue. You have the border right there. They were mostly blue. It was the small little country towns in Texas that people don't talk about that were full of
Trying
red,
to tell
a
you,
sea of red.
they was getting in their tractors and they was getting to the polls. Quit
And
playing with these
let
people.
me tell you exactly. Let me tell you something that people don't talk about. It is the messaging. Okay, I heard this
Mhm.
from a lot. I literally can roll off a list of tweets from different handles that talked about, what Republicans do. There was a tweet that I think I retweeted, or 4 times retweeted, that said the GOP in Texas have been in power for 27 years, and their messaging is, let us fix what's wrong with Texas. But you've been in power for 27 years with nothing fixed, right? Nobody pays attention to that because they stick to their guns. They kind of have a cult following of voters, right? And then for the Dems on this side, they really try to appease everyone, but they do not go to those small sea full of red towns and literally do exactly what their opponents do at the same time. It's just a lot. Everybody is like really kind of exhausted
Right, right.
with
And I mean,
Texas
that's
right now.
that's kind of the same feeling here in Georgia. I feel like when you talked about messaging in general, the messaging and the narrative that was just talked about across the media was getting black men in the state of Georgia to vote for Stacey. And it was just like, girl, I'm so sick of y'all, because I've talked about this in nauseum, because I'm in
Mhm.
DeKalb County, and DeKalb County was one of the counties that helped turn the state purple back in 2020 and all of the things. And my thing is what I've learned in living in DeKalb County and being a Mississippian, okay, is you have to watch the white women. And what really came out in the exit polls was that those white women did not vote for Stacey. They weren't going for her nor Warnock. You know what I'm saying? And it was just one of those things where Warnock had more of a wider, a higher percentage for white voter turnout. But for Stacey, one of the biggest things that I feel like that conversation should have actually been was, girl, go where you haven't been. And honestly, she was everywhere. She couldn't
Mhm.
have done what she have done this go round from last time to now. It played it any more perfect. But the biggest thing about these voters and in these red areas that, she just mentioned, is that majority of those people, and I hate to be the person to say this, and I'm probably going to get dragged for it, they're not educated enough to understand that when someone talks to you about policy, when someone talks to you about solutions and how they can correct what's actually happened now, they actually could, they can do something, especially if they have the experience. Look at the numbers Herschel Walker was able to get. Like,
Right,
come on, quit playing with these people. They are
right.
going to turn out and vote. And one of the biggest things that I posted on Instagram that everybody was like, Dawn, how do you remember this? There was a movie, Head of State, with Chris Rock and Bernie Mac,
Bernie
right?
Mac.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Chris Rock's running for president. Remember where they're down to like the last few hours of the presidential election in the day, before the polls close, a couple of hours before, and they're making this grand announcement in the media. It's looking like, Chris Rock's character is going to become the first Black president of the United States. They zoom in on a suburban area. Nobody's outside in their yards. All of a sudden, after they make this announcement, every white person that could possibly come out of a house, the backyard, the front yard, everywhere, starts running in the streets, and they're running to the polls. That's exactly what them white people did this go round. They were not playing with us. And I just want to figure out what that conversation needs to be when we sit down with some of the white women that we can possibly turn, into being a little bit more progressive and understand that, you can vote however you want to in the voting booth. Nobody's really gonna know. But most of these women who, especially if they're married, they're gonna vote along the party lines of their husbands. And majority of those white men will always show you, especially the mediocre white men who vote, they're gonna show you that they're gonna vote Republican every single time.
And it's conditioning. Remember, I said that they definitely have a cult following of voters. They're gonna vote red regardless. With Dems, the voters literally say, well, I am not for this, so I am not going to vote for that person. They vote for a policy. They don't vote just because, hey, vote blue, period.
Right.
Those reds, vote red, period. Right?
Yes.
So we saw that in Uvalde, and that was so sad. Like watching people.
That I think to see the numbers coming out of there and how they voted for the governor, like, no, I was
and everybody was appalled. But again, and it's the conditioning, and I said that again, some sad, uncomfortable truths that we have to put out there is that they feel like they are white. And this is government documentation. This is something I used to do some work for a Houston Housing Authority here in Houston, Texas. And there is no Latinos on their applications. They are classified as white. So when you condition them to think like that, you can get them to vote red all day long, because red voters do not care. Right. It is tradition. It is instilled in them that they vote red regardless.
Look, when somebody showed, this is on a Twitter feed, is a joke. When somebody showed Herschel Walker the numbers and red and blue, like we were just showing there, Herschel says, "Am I red or am I blue?"
You know what, sir. So, but one thing I do want to point out before we
they say he went to the polls and he might lose by one vote because he wrote in, "Who are you voting for?" He wrote me.
Exactly. Right. But one thing that I want to point out before we move along is the Gen Z voters, the younger voters who came out, they were strictly blue. Majority in any state, majority of the young people are just like, no, I'm sick of seeing, what I'm seeing in the media. I'm sick of seeing how leadership is for our various states. So I want to shout out to the Gen Z voters, because one thing that I will say, and this is from working in Black press, you'll hear a lot of elders say that young people don't vote. Shut up with that narrative. Those young people turned out.
25-year-old Gen Z Max Frost in Florida went to Congress.
The young lady whose tweet I replied to, and it kind of went viral. She literally said, "Here I stand at the ballot box, begging my government to please, please, please do the right thing." Right. I mean, and as soon. It literally was as soon as it was over. Like I said, Texas ran straight. The week has run straight into each other. Literally, oh no, they blocked already. The judges that was put in place blocked already the student loan paybacks from Biden. Like for Texas, it's insane. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Denisha. Just briefly on you mentioned one of the things you said it earlier about the Astros and the World Series. I got a quick question. Well, are you aware of how the negotiations? It went quick, but with Dusty Baker's new contract, is because it's only 1 year. He won the World Series. Is it that he did not want more than 1 year, or did the Astros hardline World Series champion manager?
Right. So I thought the same thing too. I had that question, but it seemed he hasn't actually put it out there that he did not want more than 1 year, or that he did. He just put it out there that he likes winning and that he is coming back for 1 year. So I want to say that it feels a little bit like that was his decision to like
Okay.
come back for 1 year.
Because he is 73 years old too.
Right, exactly. It feels like his decision though, Stacey.
Okay,
Honestly.
yeah, because when I saw that, generally, and Dawn knows this, she's a sports person. You win the World Series,
Right.
you write a ticket right there. It's like, give
Write
me
your own check.
5 years, you know.
Yeah, but you also have to think about how I will, commend him for speaking out about the lack of like,
Black
black
players.
players and things of
Absolutely.
that. And I don't want to erase the narrative where we're trying to create this an image of how 4 out of the 5 top 10 picks in the MLB draft were
Mhm.
black players.
Right.
Yeah,
So
but this was the
it's
first, Dawn, this was
One
the
number
first
with one
World
last
Series
name
since
that only keeps
1950.
score to remind us to stay focused on
Absolutely.
what an
Right.
opponent can take from us.
That did not,
He has
neither
always done
team
more than
had
play,
a black
coach,
player.
or manage. He imparts, he etches, he hones people, touching your soul with the indelible mark of a historian that knows what time will most remember.
That was nice.
Yes,
Amazing.
yes.
That was
And
amazing.
he should be talked about. There's just understanding his journey, understanding
And
what he's
celebrated.
done. We
And
need more
celebrated.
we need more men to be in those type of spaces as well, not just as players, but to be in the bullpen and
Right.
do what they do. But it's again, we're talking about Major League Baseball.
Well, he
They
was outspoken too, Dawn, like you started to say. Dusty Baker, just before in the middle of the World Series, I guess, or just at the beginning of the World Series, he was bothered by the fact that neither team had an African American player on it. And as I said, that was the first time that had happened since 1950. It was Jim Crow time when the last time that
Right.
happened.
Absolutely.
And that shouldn't happen.
But that's
With
America's
all that
favorite
talent.
pastime. Remember that, you know what I'm saying? Baseball.
I wrote that too.
Right.
That that should not. And he's a little optimistic. He's not, he's not totally down on it because he's like Dawn mentioned, those draft picks. And there's so much talent out there, but they're not going into. The problem with Major League Baseball is that they're not going into our communities anymore.
Yeah,
they're not coming. They're certainly not.
And they're
doing
outpricing us. They're outpricing us. So they're more in the Latinx community,
Right.
and you have people who will sponsor them. You know what I'm saying? Because it almost feels like it's Black adjacent a lot of times. Especially if you have like a dark skinned Dominican or someone who looks like, okay, well he can qualify as Black. No.
Right.
There's a difference. And the biggest thing about it is you have to also understand how much money it takes to invest in youth, especially Black youth, to play baseball. I had to do this during the summer with my son, and I know I spent over $2,000 in camps, equipment, driving to and from places because in our area I couldn't find anything for him to do, and that was just introducing him into baseball. That wasn't putting him on a team and getting him through a league or something like that. So just, for the average, single mother of 3 children, she may not have $2,000 to shell out to do something like that. And then, think about back in the day though, Stacey, y'all, we used to have community-based.
We did.
You also had the police athletic league back then too.
Yeah, we used to have church leagues. So it was like, the church would fund some money. Hell, if we're going to be honest, the local drug dealer will probably sponsor you.
Well, the drug dealers, they do the basketball.
Well, no, because where I'm from, they did every sport. So I'm going to tell you that now.
As a matter of fact, I was just about to say that I know Black Press, you know what I mean? Forward Times did cover that there was I want to say it was a little league. I'm going to have to go back to forwardtimes.com. You guys can always go to forwardtimes.com, plug, and read that. But I forgot exactly who did it, but I need to go back and look at it. But we covered that story that they were reaching out to Black communities and bringing, bringing little Black boys into the little league and things of that sort, baseball, things of that sort, so that they can do that pipeline back to MLB. But it's crazy how, like Dawn said, the money is
Yeah, the money.
so expensive,
It
and you're
is. You
talking
try to
about
go.
disparities. You're talking about kids that are in communities. It's just it's very hard.
Well, and we talk about the World Series. Looking at Houston and Philadelphia tickets, whether it was Philadelphia or Houston, you could not get a standing room only seat for anything less than $1,200 per
Absolutely.
ticket.
And see, that's something that I need somebody to go and look into. Where are people getting the money for those type of tickets? Because we also
PPP
know
1,000
loans.
people in the
this is
stadium
coming
too.
up, and you've got people like I was looking at tickets for Phoenix. Now this is Phoenix. Phoenix
Mm-hmm.
is where the Super Bowl is gonna be at. And you mean to tell me some of these tickets are going for $5,200? Let me
Right.
tell you how. I'm telling y'all now, if I actually show up at the Super Bowl, please know I was sponsored. I'm telling you that now.
Dawn, with that Twitter feed of yours, somebody sponsoring you.
Right.
I'm not paying that. But you have people that will put their mortgage on the line. You have people that will put their all of their savings on the line. And I get it. Once in a lifetime experience. I get that. But you come on. Like y'all are really sacrificing, organs for these tickets. And I'm not gonna do that.
I'm with you on that though. Don't trust and believe. If y'all see me there, either NPA said we gonna cover this, or somebody is paying for it somehow.
$52,000 is insane. Is insane to spend for a ticket to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That's just insane. But I laugh all the time because what'd you say, Dawn?
5,200. So 5,200.
You know what I was thinking about? No, you know what's crazy? I was thinking about I went to an event and they auctioned off a
they're higher.
Yeah, a 52,000. It was a $52,000 to the Super Bowl, but you get to hang out with Gronk and have the experience.
I don't need to hang out with Gronk or yeah. Are you kidding me? Listen, they got the money.
Listen, you can find after parties with these players. You can find different signing events leading up to the Super Bowl. Like there's so many other things, fan-based events that you can possibly go to for less than $5,000, $52,000 or whatever, to where you get way more out of that experience versus sitting down and maybe the player shows up for like a couple of minutes in a quarter and then they go to their own suite. You get what I'm saying? Like It's not worth it at the end of the day.
Look, I was on the phone yesterday with the PGA of America, and he was saying that because we went out a few months ago. Their new headquarters is and they don't call it headquarters, they say new home in Frisco, Dallas, Texas. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now they're having the first event there, and they're gonna have all this great stuff going on. He was like, "You got to come out of what." I said, "Let me explain something to you." I said, "Now the PGA Tour, they've invited me to several things, right? Dr. Chavison's come along or whatever. Hospitality suites only, and that's all y'all."
Okay,
I'm telling you right now. I said, it sounds pretentious. It sounds whatever. I said, you invite me out. This is what your folks over at the tour does. Because I'm not going backwards. I tell family all the time, the first class, y'all want to sit in the back of the plane, y'all sit by yourself. By yourself.
And that's what
save money. No,
that's what they do to black press, between PGA, MLB. Honestly, the NFL has done this numerous of times. You'll have you'll have credentialed black media show up. And when you get there, you're not actively either in the stadium to cover whatever, or you're separate from the other credential press. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Absolutely. Y'all need us.
Well, it's look at Soul Train Soul Train. They sent the Soul Train Awards coming up. They sent the thing. They said it gave me a media pass to be on the outside. You could do, if you want, you could do red carpet. No, what does CBS have? What does NBC have? What does ABC? Right. If I'm not sitting up there hanging out with Kevin Hart, I ain't going. But look, I want you to see, y'all are two female media types, media personalities, I should say, not types. Dawn has a type.
know that's
Listen,
right.
Dawn wants to be adopted, by the way. Just so you know, she wants to be adopted by a certain couple. But I have to check. Dawn, don't listen. We be checking out your timeline all the time.
I'll be on it too. I'll be like, yes, Dawn.
Dawn and grits. I had grits yesterday, Dawn. Just so you know.
I'm so proud of you.
I need to get up on my grits.
I had grits yesterday. I got to get your take on the whole Tiffany Cross thing.
Hire her. Give her. I want her to understand that every Black woman journalist stands behind her,
Right.
in front of her, beside her, to carry her. The numbers were there. I don't want to hear anything about her not having the type of conversation or content producing out there. She had an amazing show. What y'all were mad about was how she responded to Tucker Carlson, and she had every right to defend herself. And this is what happens. When we are in spaces that don't understand that it is okay for us to speak up and advocate for ourselves. We shouldn't have to, but if no one else is going to do it, then we have to do it. And she will continue to be respected. I'm hoping, and this is just me speaking out loud, I'm hoping like maybe somebody like Byron Allen or somebody can find a space for her.
That's what Greer said.
That's a good,
or somewhere else where we can put her back up there. We can give her what she needs. And in all, I think the way she's handled this with so much grace, because I don't think I could do it. I would
give her all the things. I give her all the things. That's a good look, Dawn. I agree with you on that. Just give her all the things, because like you said, just so shockingly.
Okay, so normally you guys know I use this time to address something or someone relevant who has warranted some sort of.
I was like, is she talking? That's her.
That's what I said. Hold on.
Listen, Tiffany listening.
We're so serious. No, honestly, I say give her all the things. Give her all the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give her everything.
Well, don't you find it more than suspicious that it came only a couple of days before the election?
Of course. That's not suspicious. That was intentional. Let's get to the point to where I know for us in media, we have to kind of, tread lightly on how we push out, certain news and updates and things like that. But a lot of times we have to call a thing. And in this situation, they knew exactly what they were doing. They made sure that they could try to silence her. And at the end of the day, I think that's only going to motivate her and put a fire in her to figure out where she's going to land next. And I'm praying to God that she can land somewhere where it looks like us, or behind the scenes, she has more of us supporting her so that she won't have to go through a situation like this again.
That's that part, Dawn. It's us supporting. If we want to support anything, we need to support her. These are the people we need to support. These are the people we need to rally behind. And that's exactly what I was going to say. The support is us. We need to make sure that she propels to where she needs to be.
Right.
Well, there's definitely spots for her. Listen, you make a spot for Tiffany Cross.
There you go.
Regardless, you do. The other thing is you realize too, this really, if people have not yet realized, we talk about Fox, we know where Fox is coming from all the time, but
all the time.
MSNBC, CNN is going the way of Fox, and they kind of said it too, because they see that's where the money is. I guess they going more that way. What is it, to the right? And MSNBC is just it's becoming more and more of a joke when you can do something like that to a Tiffany Cross at that point in time. It shows you that it's becoming more and more of a joke. So my point here is that it's 195 years the Black press has existed, and we're doing things now, of course, in part because of social media, whatever, that the Black press has never been able to do. So it's time that y'all people figure it out, that this is where it's at, Dawn.
That part. So I was invited, and I want to shout out to Tia Mitchell, who covers I want to say she covers like Washington, D.C., politics for the AJC. And please forgive me if I'm not accurately stating that, Tia Mitchell. But I want to give a shout out to her because she was able to not only just cover this election, but also bring together over 13 to 14 Black journalists to a dinner and at Pascal's here in Atlanta, a Black-owned restaurant, and sitting at that table and listening to these women. When they did their introductions, I was towards the end of the introductions. And when I came up and I was able to speak about, my proximity with Black press and all of that, and then also what I do in the communication space now with nonprofit organizations, those women's eyes lit up when I mentioned Black press. Like when I said Black press, NNPA. These women, these people, our people know who we are. They know how to reach us. There's just a disconnect of making them do that. And then there's also a lot more stories that we can get from Black journalists that are more with mainstream media to really kind of talk about how they grew up on the Chicago Defender, how they know about the Atlanta Voice, how they know about Mississippi Link, all of these publications, and how that shaped them and their journeys and as journalists. And I think that that's going to be the thing that we're going to possibly do, is not only remind people that Black people read the Black press and that Black people really support the Black press, but also kind of show our people who actually do that and how they're now in spaces that actually ignited that fire for them to want to be in those type of spaces. And I think that that's going to be the thing. And I've got this thing in my head that I was going to run by you, Stacey Greer, and Dr. Chavis, but I literally would love to see more Black journalists talk about how important Black press was to their journeys. And if it wasn't important, what happened there? Because we have to be honest about both sides. Two things can both be true. But I know, everywhere I go, I'm talking about Black press. Everywhere I go, I'm talking about, I'm trying to figure out
you know what too, Denisha and Dawn, what happened in the 1960s continues to happen here as far as the Black press is concerned. And here's what that is. In the 60s, the white press infiltrated the Black press. They was taking talent, stealing talent, and they continue to try and do that today. But the thing about it is, I think we're starting to see more and more realize that the Black press is, home is where it all happens, right? They say home is where the heart is. What the Black press is home. Now, can we bring in a Tiffany Cross? Well, that's up to the big wigs, right? That's up to the Dr. Chavises and the Karen Carter Richards and the Claudette Perrys of the world, right? If they want to shell out the type of resources that it might take to get a Tiffany Cross to the Black press. But the thing is, more and more I realize that. I talked to a publisher yesterday who is bringing someone back from mainstream media to the Black press. And we are excited about it. We are extremely excited about this individual. Can't say it's not my place to make that announcement, but we are extremely excited about this individual who actually decided to take a really nice job with a very popular mainstream outlet. And the reason that individual took that position at the time when that individual said that, you kind of questioned it, but has lived up to it. Apparently has lived up to it. That individual said that they wanted to see what really was going on there and then come back to the Black press with that information. So you got some intel going on.
So absolutely.
So here's the thing. I love that. I love that because another thing, what that does is it also maximizes the experience that our journalists have. I have no problems with us being in spaces of mainstream media. I mean, to be honest with you, my sports media company ended up being a mainstream media company, and being in spaces that people didn't expect us to be in. But guess what? I had a very, very ultimately diverse team, like from Latinx to Asian to our Black people, but I also had, I had a white men on my team. So my thing is that I actually was mentoring a young man who he was wrestling with, staying with the Atlanta Voice or going to the AJC to do an internship. And I was like, sweetheart, I might have to bite these words, but I'll be honest with you. If you need to go and figure out if that's what you want to do, then you need to go and go do that, because guess what? You're going to see what they do with resources. You're going to see what they're capable of doing and how, you have to meet deadlines and the communication. And when you decide that you want to come back to the Black press, then there should be a open door policy. Like literally, I should be able to welcome you back, because guess what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk to you.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to ask you, how was your experience? And it's not from an intel thing to where I need to know every little thing, but I want to know if we're making sure that the Black press is a space that really welcomes us and makes sure that we are well-rounded people. Because outside the jobs that we do, we have to be valued as humans, because we can't function. We can't do a job if we're overworked, completely underpaid, and no one is actually thanking us.
Come on,
that's what we're doing.
And that's the point. And I want to bring it back, Dawn, all the way to the beginning, because this is something I always used to say, like even in high school, policemen are just they're just former slave catchers. You know what I mean? Like that whole pipeline from slave catcher to policeman. Like there is a pipeline as well to the Black press, and that's that HBCU pipeline to the Black press. And that's something that I want to see us utilize even more.
Yes.
It's like training our journalists. And yes, they come in. It's so crazy. I forgot who the publisher is for the Atlanta Voice, but I spoke with her.
Janice.
Right. And I spoke with her literally, and she was saying, how can we compete when they're giving our students that $80,000 a year salary? She was like, how can we compete with that? And I say, let them go and gain that knowledge.
Right.
Let them go and grab whatever they need to grab to bring back, to fortify and make the Black press even stronger. But we have to start with that pipeline from HBCUs, even in the high schools. Even we can go to the high schools and literally put that pipeline into play from journalists and HBCUs to the Black press. And again, if they, like Dawn said, go and gain that experience, go and grab that knowledge, and then when you're ready to come back, bring it back to fortify the Black press.
Listen, Denisha, you we gotta let you talk about Wakanda Forever.
Yes. Well, first of all, have y'all seen it?
No. So you better not be dropping.
I wasn't. I was gonna tease the audience and say spoiler alert in 5, 4, 3, but no, I'm just kidding. Actually, go to my Twitter. I wonder if you could go see that tweet that I put up. My family dresses up. We literally, for Star Wars movies, for Marvel.
Oh, you got any pictures? You should have bought the pictures.
We literally dress up. And my nieces, I didn't get a chance to because I was working late last night, but my nieces, they actually dressed up as the Dora Milaje. So I thought that was so cool. My family dressed up. I mean, makeup and everything, right? My family, it's like 20 of us in there all looking like characters, and people are like, who are these people?
Right.
We're big movie buffs. We get into it. I won't spoil. Yeah, there they are.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. And so that was, it was a really great experience. Obviously, we are missing Chadwick, but I will say that they did honor him, and how they honored him was so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, wow, y'all look so cute.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it was absolutely amazing.
No, you know what? That almost sounded like Greer.
Listen, the audio was perfect just then.
Right. I was like, look at them. Look at those babies.
Right. So last night, my son went with one of his older brothers, which was so beautiful because our boys in our blended family, they all love everything Marvel, everything like that could possibly come out from DC so they can compare it to Marvel. Like it's like our dinner table for holidays, they're talking about the next Marvel movie or whatever. And so last week, his older brother reached out and was like, hey, you want to go with this or whatever? And so they go. And last night, like he was just at school, he was ready to go. So I get him to the theater and he's like, Mom, I feel like I should have dressed up. And I was like, no, don't feel bad. I was like, don't feel bad, because we're literally watching people walk in. They either have on costumes, they have on their all white. And he was just like, I look like a kid that just left school, mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you're gonna enjoy yourself. Soon as I pick that child up, y'all, the little boy gets to the door and he's like, "Mom, let me tell you." And I'm like, "I will leave you here if you will anything from this movie." So I do want to make sure that I give a big shout out to his older brother, Emmanuel, who made sure he can have that experience immediately. You know what I'm saying? Because it's really important that our young people see us in like the representation, how we look in these spaces, and to know that behind the scenes, the crew, most of the crew is Black, and how they can dominate any industry and they can be whoever they want to be. And I think it's very powerful that we have these images like Black Panther as well as Woman King and all of these things, so that our young people can continue to dream, because it's very expensive to dream.
It is. It is. And you know what's so crazy? I know that there was some pushback because, obviously you see whatever the protagonist is of the Mayans. And so there was some pushback like, now, why would they do that? Why would they they already know that there's a beef between the Latin community and the Black community. Why would they do that? But I really like how it plays out.
Okay, well,
and that's all I'll say. I really like how it plays out.
And honestly, if we're gonna be honest, why would they do that? Just look at these elections. Like,
look, we're gonna have to leave it there. Dawn gonna get started again.
Dawn's gonna baby. Dawn said voter response.
That was it, huh?
The numbers is there. Like, come on.
Listen. Go to Totally Randy, her Twitter feed, The Break of Dawn. Go to Dawn's Twitter.
Look, brace yourself if you come to my timeline. I hold no punches, okay?
Right. Brace yourself, and if you are the right couple, make sure you put in the adoption papers.
Yes, I appreciate the promo.
I've been living for the photo. I was like, come on, Dawn, and grace my timeline. Okay.
Thanks so much for joining. Let it be known. We really appreciate you guys, Denisha and Dawn, and everybody else. We will see you next week.